Welcome to the Gumtree Museum in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm Nancy Ann Branton, President of the Mississippi State Committee for the National Museum of Art in Washington, D.C. We'd like to welcome you to our 2021 Annual Artist Showcase. This showcase travels around the state, and this year we're thrilled to be at the Gumtree Museum in Tupelo, Mississippi. First, I'd like to thank Lillian Wade, our showcase coordinator, and Sally Keppel, Executive Director of the Gumtree Museum, for putting together this wonderful show. I'd also like to thank Brittany Davis, who is producing this show so we can bring it to you. Our judge this year is Jenna Dunnigan. Jenna is an art instructor at Northeast Community College. Jenna will be selecting 1 Best in Show and 5 artist favorites. She'll also introduce us to each of the artist's works as we tour the show. You're in for a treat. Sit back and enjoy the show. Please share it with your friends. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jenna Donegan. Welcome to the Mississippi State Committee of the National Museum for Women in the Arts Artist Showcase. I was really excited when I was asked to jury this show. Upon looking at all of the submissions, it was extremely challenging to pick which works of art to award. There's so many excellent works of art. It was a long process of picking and choosing, changing my mind, but I had to pick 5 Judges' Favorites awards and then just 1 Best in Show. Here are our 5 Judges' Favorites. The first one by George Ann McCullough, The Sky is Falling. Second one by Kevin Voller. I'm not sure if it's called Squaw or Bird Tiles. Third is from Ellen Langford, Walks of Wonder. Fourth is by Kim Witt, Peace Arrow. The 5th is Kathy Tosh, Life in Fishbowl. And the Best in Show is by Sabrina Howard, called Perfect Imperfections. Congratulations to all the winners and all of the artists. All right, now I'm gonna go through and talk about each artist's work in the show. All right, the first artist I'm gonna talk about is Virginia Branch, specifically her painting Alstromerius. Not sure how to pronounce that. I think it's the name of the flower. I really liked this painting. I thought the complementary colors helped the work pop. And then the bright blues and greens of the vase that are repeated in little linear aspects in the flowers are really appealing. It adds to the energy. And I liked the larger blocks of colored texture. It added to the liveliness of the subject matter. All right. The next artist is Leslie Bobbins for her painting Pure Joy, which I thought the title was really fitting. I hate this word in explaining artwork, but it's a super cute painting of a dog, and I love dogs. But I like how the water seems to fade into the sky, and you can't really tell the difference between where the sky ends and the water begins. And then you have this active, happy dog in the foreground. It's great. The next artist is one of our winners, Ellen Langford. All 3 of these paintings caught my eye when I was looking at them on my computer digitally, just trying to figure out my initial judgments of the whole entire show. And I knew right away that I had to award one of these. It was really hard trying to figure out which one to give the award to. I liked how the compositions were kind of cyclical in nature. They definitely led your eye around. And I liked the stylized way the artist painted and simplified the subject matter. The next artist I'm going to talk about is Brittany Davis. She had 2 photographs. I was really drawn to Spectre 1 because it's not immediately apparent what the subject matter is. It looks like clouds, but it could also be something in water. It could be even more microscopic than that. I like that there's a question there. Could be clouds. It has an ominous feel. And then when you look at Spectre 2, you get rewarded by knowing that it was clouds. And that one still has that sort of ominous feel with the leafless branches of the trees. I liked that. Kathy Tosh is next. She's another award winner for her work Life in a Fishbowl. All 3 of these works I liked by her. They're abstract but recognizable. They're stylized, they're really colorful, but there's questions happening, specifically with Life in Fishbowl. It's a little bit surreal. What is going on? Is it a dream? Is it a state of mind? So I really enjoyed first analyzing these artworks, and then I read the artist's statement and learned that I'm not far off from what she was intending. The colors of the painting suggest energy and vitality, but also struggles in a way. While these characters' lives seem positive, they also have experienced hard times. All right, Vanda McCormick is next. I was immediately drawn to the texture and layering of these collages. I like specifically the use of collage paired with this washy painting technique. And I like that we're allowed to see the sublayers of the collage materials used. And there's a lot of implied symbolism with these works of art, and I'm very curious what the animals mean. What does the goat symbolize? And the cat one, I like it. It's kind of funny in a way, and I'm curious about that one, which is called Care for All. So it suggests maybe she just cares for animals, but I feel like there's a story there, and I'm curious about it. Claudia Carty is next for her raku pots. I've done raku before, so when I saw this on the digital submission, I was really excited to see it in person. I know some of the challenges that raku presents, and I thought this artist, she was inspired by nature, and I really think that she accomplished that while still being subtle about being inspired by nature, especially vase 3. It looks like scales. It could be inspired by water or potentially fish scales, and it was fun to see those in person. Okay, Carolyn Norton is next for her nature photographs, her photographs of landscapes. I like the compressed, elongated proportions of these photographs. It's a little atypical for what I normally see. I thought that was really interesting. And it's super compressed and focused on just the landscape. We don't get to see any of the negative space, the sky behind. So again, it kind of asks questions, like what's going on here? And I particularly liked the ones that have some implied paths in them, beyond the forest and toward a wider course, because I want to know more about it. And I think the compression of the frame messes with me a little bit because I'm not allowed to see more, and I want to. Barbara Ann Carver Hunt for her triptych. These drawings just ooze symbolism. On my digital sheet, it said a certain size, and that's the size of the entire work framed. So when I got here in person and saw how little the actual drawing was, I was even more impressed because there's a lot of linear detail work that goes into it. So that was exciting. And I saw on the digital that there were beads involved as well. So when I got here and saw in person how tiny the beads were, it added more questions, which I like questions when I look at art. So it makes me wonder what the beads represent. Does the placement of the beads matter? So I like the implied symbolism here. And then of course the technique. And then there's some really nice stylization of the figure as well. Compositions are interesting. Award winner, George Ann McCullough. I thought all 3 of these abstract paintings had some pretty good compositions. The way that they're composed was nice. They are abstract. I'm not sure that subject matter matters necessarily. Is it meant to be about the composition or about content? According to the artist's statement, it was more about the process. So while the subject matter doesn't seem to be particular, I do get a sense of weather or atmosphere. And I did like all 3 compositions, but I chose The Sky is Falling as the award winner for the element of the additional layered paint scraps that are applied. And there also seems to be some sort of like step or ladder at the top third that adds to the architecture of the piece. And I like how the ladder tries to bring you up while the drips bring you down. Next is Susie Altman. Bloody Sunday caught my attention first. I really liked the contrast of the bright yellow sign with the red flower petals. These 2 primary colors grab your attention. And then there's this well-dressed man who seems to be leading, according to the other photographs, seems to be leading a funeral procession. And then the motion of the petals falling, and in particular the way his hand looks as he casts the petals down, and he's looking down as well, he's not looking up, so it adds to that sorrow of the piece. This photo, in combination with the other 2, definitely tell a story. and I appreciated that. Karen Arzametti is next for her Untitled fiber works. They're non-objective fiber artworks, but I think they're well structured. There's a lot, you're forced to focus on the composition, made up of shapes, lines, textures, and then there's a limited color palette. But the composition still leads your eye around. There's some great linear elements that bring you around. And I particularly liked in Untitled 1, the thicker raised textures. It's like a reward whenever you get closer and you see all these little textures. Kathy Bowerlin is next. I like the composition of the two friends. I like how they're kind of angled and confronting the viewer. One of them looks a little bit sassy, and I think that it adds to the character and the innocence of children. And I really liked the unfinished nature of the wisteria study. It says study, so that suggests that it's a study for another work of art, but I like it as a finished drawing, even though it's still very gestural. I like the movement of that piece. Also, going back to the two friends, the texture in the background, there's a lot of energy there as well that adds to the subject matter. Julie Graber is next. I was really excited to see these fiber pieces in person. And I was really surprised when I noticed that there was even more layering happening. The geometric wallpaper-like backgrounds, I thought that was an interesting choice. And then when I got up close and I realized that there's a bunch of individual pieces that are just threaded together, there's a lot of intricate work and time, clearly, that went into these pieces. And it's like a reward whenever you get closer and you realize just how much goes into it. The compositions are nice too. Sabrina Howard, the Best in Show award winner, is next. So I changed my mind a lot on which works of art would receive awards. Like I said earlier, it was really hard to pick just 6 total, 5 favorites and then the Best in Show. But I never changed my mind on this one. I knew that it was going to get an award, and when I finally decided to, narrow it down, I picked this one for Best in Show, but I decided to wait and finalize Best in Show until I could see it in person, and I didn't change my mind on that one. It was for sure the one. The scale of it, I think it's an appropriate, it's a good size, it draws your attention, but also the complementary colors, the violet and yellow, really grab your attention. And then there's this abstract, non-objective negative space, lots of energy there, combined with a realistic portrait. It tells a story. It's almost like a hyper-realistic portrait combined with this crazy abstract negative space. So I want to know what's happening. I want to know more of the story of this person. And once I saw it in person, I was surprised. I see now, in the media description, it says acrylic and mixed media, but I didn't really know what mixed media it was until I got up close and saw that there's fabric involved in here too. So that was a nice surprise. There's additional materials collaged on top. So I think that texture increases the impact of the overall piece. Betty Press is next for her photographs of barbershops. I particularly liked A Cut Above. I like the composition of this piece with its repetition, all the repeating rectangles. But I thought the whole series was interesting because it focuses on small town barbershops. These photographs in particular make the barbershops look a little bit desolate, a little bit worn down, like they need clients. But I think that's related to the current impact of the pandemic. And I read this artist statement, and she mentions that the pandemic is really affecting these local small businesses, and I got that sense from these photographs. So I thought that she was successful in conveying that. Fran Stutzman is next. She had 5 paintings. Of all 5, I was most drawn to teepee. I like the yellow, ochre, monochromatic color scheme. And I like the way that it's an oil painting, but it seems to be applied in a washi style, lots of layers. Thought that was nice. The balance of all the different collections of teepees, I like that, and the repetition of the shapes. I also appreciated the effect of the lighting on that front teepee. There also seems to be a story with that unfinished teepee in the front. Maybe it's being built, maybe it's being dismantled. There's a question there. I like that. Kevin Voller's bird tiles are next. When I walked in, I knew once I got to see these in person, that they would get an award. They're a favorite of mine. I love the gestural nature, the colorful negative spaces, combined with the more realistic birds. I might be a little biased, but birds happen to be a favorite subject matter of mine to make artwork about, so I was drawn to it right away. But there's so many of them, so it's like a little happy at every single tile that I get to look at. Also, each bird has its own character and expression. Different compositions are used. They're not all just placed right in the center. There's a lot of variety here. Sandra Hallett is next. I was actually surprised that both of these paintings were created by the same artist because the media is different, the style is a little bit different, but the subject matter is similar, so that makes sense. I particularly like the textures and layering of the geishas with fans print. The repetition of the figures is nice. It creates a rhythm. The fan creates a rhythm. And the viewer is rewarded when they get up close and they really get to see the texture of the leaf prints in the negative space. The layering caught my eye for sure. All right, Kim Witt, our last award winner for Peace Arrow. This is another one that looked great digitally, but even better in person. The intricate detail and then the clear just dedication and time that this piece took was impressive. I really liked the integration of the more dimensional elements. I suppose that would be the arrows, the more dimensional elements that were sewn in. I also thought it was interesting. For me, it reads like a book. I start on the left and I go to the right. You've got this nice blue stripe on the left that travels into the right yellow side over and over again. And it's almost like this linear pattern of reading a book. And then the textures, the stitching up close is really impressive. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to judge this showcase. Congratulations again to all the winners and all the artists who submitted.